So tomorrow you have a quiz. The quiz is going to cover sections 3.1 to 3.3. The quiz is going to have 10 questions. And of those 10 questions, some are going to be free response. So just like what we just did on the warm-up where you don't have a multiple choice answer, you just work it out and you give your answer. Then some of them are going to be multiple response, where you can pick more than one of the answers. And then some will also be multiple choice. There are no proofs on the quiz tomorrow. We will have a proof on the test next week. So this week we have our last quiz of the quarter, and next week will be your last test of quarter one. So your first quarter will be complete after we take that next test, because it's going to end the week of the PSAT, right after the PSAT, and then on Monday there's no school, Tuesday there's no school of that week. So this is why we're finishing up next week. Okay, so on Canvas, I have posted a study guide. Now, this is just a screenshot from your textbook. You can access your e-textbook, but this sort of gives you an overview of all the vocab that we covered in sections 1 through 3, and it also has the core concepts. So at the beginning in section 3.1, we learned about the different types of lines. So we learned about parallel lines, skew lines. We also learned about perpendicular lines. So know how to identify parallel, perpendicular, skew. Same thing with the planes. Be able to identify a parallel plane or even a perpendicular plane. And then also know what a transversal looks like. And then here are our 4 special angle pairs. Now remember, back in the prior chapters, chapters 1 and 2, you still need all of that knowledge as well. Because if you have a vertical angle in your picture, and maybe that's going to help you to answer the question, you need to be able to identify a vertical angle or even a linear pair, which isn't in officially chapter 3, but you still need to know how to do it. So in 3.1, this is where we learned all these vocab words and the different angle pairs. So we learned all of these definitions. We also learned 2 postulates, the parallel postulate and the perpendicular postulate. And then we learned about all the angles that were formed by transversals. Then when we moved to section 3.2, this is where we learned that when we straightened up those lines and made them parallel, then we learned 4 theorems that talked about their measures. So when we had corresponding angles, the corresponding angles theorem told us that if the lines were parallel, corresponding angles were congruent. If the lines were parallel and we had a pair of alternate interior angles, they were congruent. Same for the alternate exterior. If the lines are parallel and you have alternate exterior angles, they're congruent as well. The only one that was different was the consecutive interior angles, which are also called same side interior. But again, our book uses the word consecutive interior, and these would be supplements. Then in 3.3, this is where we learned that if we had those congruent angles or those supplement angles, then we could show that the lines were parallel. So in 3.3 were all the converses of section 3.2. So know all of these theorems and be able to apply them. Now on the quiz, I'm not going to say, give me the definition of parallel lines or restate the corresponding angles converse. Just be able to apply all of the theorems, definitions, and converses that we've learned in these first 3 sections. Right. On Canvas is this quiz review. There are 2 links. One has the blank one that looks like this, and then this. So this is posted on Canvas. Again, don't ever just focus on a review that I post. because my reviews will never look exactly like a quiz or a test, go back, use your warm-ups, use your notes, use your homework. Again, this review is a good place to start, but it doesn't cover everything. So the beginning part, 1 through 4, this is where they're asking you to identify either a line parallel to something or a line skew or a plane that's parallel. So be able to do that given a picture and then be able to answer questions based on that diagram. Then also be able to identify angle pairs. So for example, instead of them asking you to list all the consecutive interior, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, what are angles 1 and 8? And then you should be able to tell me that these are alternate exterior. Or if I said, what are angles 3 and 7? You should be able to tell me that they're corresponding. So be able to identify all of these special angle pairs. Then also be able to apply these special angle pairs to find missing angle measures. So sometimes they're going to be congruent, sometimes they're going to be supplements. So again, be able to identify and find any missing angle measures. Now, on this review, there aren't any with algebraic expressions that you'll have to solve and set up, but on the quiz there are, because we just did that in the 3-3 warm-up. Okay, so this is on Canvas, and again, 10 questions tomorrow. Again, don't just focus on this. Go back through, review, notes, warm-ups, homework, and this. I've also posted a Quizlet. I'm also going to post a link to a quizzes that we're going to play here momentarily, as well as I will be posting a link to a Kahoot, and we're going to play that as well. So if you know the 4 special angle pairs, that is going to help you tremendously, because you're not going to know how to set up your equations to solve if you don't know if the angles are congruent or if they're supplements. So this is where memorizing what they are is going to be very helpful. Okay. Second link has the answer is posted. And again, here's that last question, answers to the questions. So this, and then again, you have the answers, and this is all posted on Canvas. Now this review, you do not need to turn in. So if you notice in the description, it has the letters NG, which means not graded. So you don't need to turn it in, just use it to study. So it is optional.